Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our Wednesday weather update recorded on April the 10th. We're tracking the big low out in the Tasman Sea and an even bigger high out here to the east. Between the two, windy, warm northerlies blowing down across the country, but the big rain clouds still out at sea, lining up with Westland still, and some of this high cloud you see here in the yellow pushing over towards Canterbury, but the bulk of the rain out there in the Tasman. One other feature, if you look at the yellow area, that's the higher tops of the clouds. As it moves into the North Island, it kind of melts, sort of erodes. That's because of the high pressure zone still over the North Island to some degree. So it weakens as it moves in right there. So it'll take at least another 24 hours or so later into Thursday for that wet weather to start to cross over the North Island. But there's a lot more still to come for the west coast. Take a look at this. The animated wind map today showing you total precipitable water. Try saying that after a couple of drinks of water. You can see how it's got that kind of V shape to it. So it looks like a funnel, and it comes out of the tropics and it comes down on the back end of the high. The high pressure zone is really important here because that sort of goes all the way up to nearly Fiji with this big belt of high pressure. That's the reason why those clouds are struggling to move into the North Island. But you can see all that moisture being fed down towards the middle of that low, and the low is drifting towards the west coast. So that's the reason why we're still seeing a lot of rain expected over in that area. This is how we look this evening, 8 o'clock. Still heavy rain here on the west coast. Mostly dry on the North Island, but cloudy and windy with those northerlies blowing through. Let's have a look at the 48-hour animation taking you through Thursday and then into Friday. You see how it kind of falls apart. Well, not kind of, it does. The low falls apart. Still here on Friday, but much weaker. The rain really does ease on the west coast on Friday, turns to sort of more drizzly falls. And then in the North Island, your turn to get some heavy rain, potentially here into Bay of Plenty as we go through the day. There could be over 100 millimetres for you. So let's look at the rainfall the next 48 hours from this evening. This is from tonight. Now, this doesn't show the extreme levels of rain because look at our key. It only goes to 120 millimetres. We've asked our friends at the weather company to please change that. Might take a couple of weeks. So for this event, we've got another map straight after this to show you the higher levels. But for everyone else, except for Westland here, just look at everyone else. These rainfall numbers are quite good for the regions that need rain the most, like Nelson and Marlborough, where you're getting up to that 90 to 120 millimetre mark over the next 48 hours. Might be too much of a good thing, could be a few slips around there. Bay of Plenty also into that 80 to 100 millimetre mark, potentially higher for some of these eastern areas, and many other places in that sort of 25 to 45, 50 millimetres coming through. Not so much though in the east here, also around Hawera and around Banks Peninsula and Canterbury, coastal Otago, you're at the lower end of the scale. So this is the bigger map now showing the higher rainfall totals. This takes you right up to 400 millimetres and beyond. So you can still see here, 400 millimetres is expected or more. The Met Service warnings are still out. Please keep up to date with them. Much higher totals in the mountains. This area in orange, including Nelson, and also maybe even getting up towards parts of Bay of Plenty. That's where you're getting up to that 100 to 200 millimetre mark. So that's why, mostly in the mountains and ranges though, those higher totals, but it does show you that the rivers and streams and highways may be affected by this wet weather. Over here though, that's the lowest amount, 0 to 5 millimetres coming through for Hawke's Bay. There might be a little bit more than that once we go through. This is only through till Saturday, so heavy rain still coming over here for Westland. Let's make sense of all of that. Here we are, lunchtime Thursday, windy weather across the country. The big high still pushing back and slowing down those rain bands that we just showed you before on the satellite map. So you can see here at lunchtime, it's kind of moving into Northland. There's some patchy rain or showers around Bay of Plenty, but the bulk of the rain still here, still in Westland, mostly into South Westland and down towards Fiordland. That's the area with the heaviest rain, some spilling over into Southland, Nelson, Marlborough as well, fingers crossed for you. By Friday, now we've got the front moving over the North Island as the high moves further and further away from us. The low is weakening now, so that falls apart. If you're heading off to Agfest and Greymouth, weather should be improving as the day wears on. Northeast winds might be blowing through a little bit, and northwesterly winds up here still coming out of the subtropics. So it's still warm in the north, cooling down a little bit on Friday in the south. By Saturday, more of a southerly flow coming in. The low is still here, stuck around the Nelson area, Nelson Ranges, Farewell Spit, Takaka, so you'll still get a few downpours in that part of the country. Taranaki, Waitomo, up towards western parts of Waikato, like Raglan and Kawhia, and further up to Auckland, you're still getting those showers. Not so much for eastern areas, parts of Bay of Islands and Coromandel Peninsula on the eastern side, Bay of Plenty, many of you starting to dry out on Saturday. By Sunday, that southerly flow is still with us. Low pressure moving out over the Chathams now. Subtropical system up here, not going to affect us. We've got high pressure stretching out from Australia. So a couple of showers around, slightly cooler for you. And on Monday, those winds kind of ease. High pressure is in the region. It's not very strong though. And we've got a few showers just remaining here and there. So high pressure still dominating, and the windy westerlies means our temperatures are above normal for this time of the year, staying above normal, especially the next couple of nights around many parts of New Zealand with these warm, windy northerlies blowing through. And they should peak on Thursday. They start to ease as we head into Friday. That's all from me for today. See you again tomorrow, Thursday, with our next update. We'll catch you then.